So big! So big! Let me see about adjusting this a bit. I wish I could get the fucking thingy to sort itself out, but unfortunately that cannot be helped. That's the tragic thing. But I hope everyone is doing well, and hello Christine and Martin, I hope you're doing all right. I'll wait for some people to come in, and then we'll get the show on the road. In the meantime, I'll just sort my little thingamabob out. Charge one extra, I think. Playing a little bit of Shotgun King while I'm at it. Actually, let me sort this out entirely. Let's see if I can sort this out. Hello, Rosemary. Right. If I'm going to have the sound on, I better turn this off. Because there is a lot to discuss. Stroke number 1! We're barely a minute in, and I've already had a stroke. Fuck me. But there is a lot to discuss, basically. What I was trying to say before I had a stroke. Fucking hell, man. And hello, Antonella. I hope you're alright. So, just give it another, like, a half minute or so, and then I think we all know what I'll lead the topic off with, or lead the video off with, I should say. And it isn't 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps. I may have a pint glass, but it's strictly orange for me. It's 5:03. I know. Truth be told, I was actually going to do another video, like, off stream, but I decided no, I was going to go against that because there is a lot to discuss. So, where do we begin? Well, let's start with the fucking obvious. Tommy Robinson's imprisonment. Because it is, well, it's already inhumane as is, the way he's being malnourished, as I had already mentioned in the past. The fact that he is not being given the capacity to have a decent and balanced meal, he is basically being violated under Section 3 of the Human Rights Act, which is, of course, torture, because he's basically being malnourished. Now, I don't want there to be any more bad news, but unfortunately, there is. My seat won't fucking go up because I'm too big and can't reach the fucking handle. Anyway, the other thing that is a significant problem, of course, is the fact that apparently, I didn't even know this, but apparently it's illegal to have somebody in solitary confinement for any longer than 14 days. Like, that's the way I see it. I think that what has happened with Tommy Robinson being in this prison anyway, in HMP Woodhill, 41% Muslim population, is completely disgraceful. But of course, because it's a massively Muslim population in Woodhill prison, they use that as an excuse to say, oh, we're going to put you in solitary confinement. Yes, I do want Tommy Robinson to be safe. Let there be no illusion of that shit. What I do have beef with, though, is people going out of their way to make excuses to justify terrible, maligned, malicious, malevolent actions, such as locking Tommy Robinson up for more than 14 days. Like, he's been in solitary... Stroke number 2. We're only 4 minutes in. Solitary confinement. And I need to be in solitary stroke confinement. But he's been in there for 3 months so far. He even said in an email, basically, which Richard Inman, I believe, read out, both on Paul Thorpe's show and on his own channel. He said, and I quote, I try not to think too far ahead into the future. The idea of being in solitary confinement for another 6 months is suffocating. End quote. I don't think anybody would be able to withstand 6 months in solitary confinement. I wouldn't last 6 minutes. I need my fucking computer. I need my video games. That's my one crux. Because I am obviously trying to shoo away the other shit. But My computer is my blood, basically. We'll get to Keir the traitor Starmer. Don't you worry about that, Invisible Ray. But the cold truth is, as far as Tommy Robinson, I think he is going to end up subjected to another 6 months. Bearing in mind that surely with the reduced sentences that people are getting, with the reductions that people have faced, even the people who went out of their way to do the rioting part of the Southport protests, who were completely in the wrong for destroying and damaging shops and all that shit. But here's the thing. At least those people who did go out of their way to loot Greggs for the extra sausage roll, I'm a chicken bake guy myself, but I digress. The people who went and did that, you could at least justify them being in prison. Some of these people who are shouting at police dogs or the police themselves, they are literally doing nothing wrong. They are actively showcasing their right to freedom of speech, their freedom to protest. But, of course, Keir the traitor Starmer doesn't like that, as we all know too well. But even those people who were part of the rioting part of those protests have been allowed reductions in their sentences. And last time I checked, I'm pretty sure that that would be a little bit more serious than contempt of court, short of this court case being on somebody who killed, 50 fucking people. Maybe. You could perhaps argue that. But other than that, no chance. There's no way that you could justify those people getting reductions in their sentences, whereas Tommy Robinson has received no such reduction. Surely, even if we lowball it and say for the sakes of argument that Tommy Robinson was only entitled to 50% when others are getting 60% right now, surely if he's in jail for 9 months, that would mean in a month and a half he should be released. But no such reduction for Tommy Robinson, as I said. A man who shouldn't even be in a Cat B prison. A man who basically has been imprisoned for his political beliefs. And anybody who tries to say he isn't stroke number 3, who says he isn't a political prisoner, what about the Attorney General getting involved? The Attorney General getting involved. Tell me that does not make Tommy Robinson a political prisoner when the Attorney General's the one fucking leading the charge. You won't be able to, quite frankly. Nobody will be able to justify why Tommy Robinson has even been spending 4 weeks, let alone 3 months, in solitary confinement. There is no person on this planet who won't be able to, very good, who will be able to justify this. No one will be able to. I could literally have a PhD in fairy tale books, and I would not be able to come up with a story written down that is good enough to justify a man being politically imprisoned. Now, apparently, if Richard Inman is correct, apparently nobody's been imprisoned for their political beliefs, or was it contempt of court, since 1940. I personally didn't think there was anybody who went to prison for contempt of court, quite frankly. So if that's the case, I'll happily admit my mistake and say, yeah, you know what, there was somebody who was done like that, and I will take that going forward in future. Just don't tell me to go back to the future. I don't have a fucking DeLorean or a flux capacitor. But I digress. The bottom line, as far as Tommy Robinson is concerned, this is a cry for help for from Tommy Robinson. This is him saying he needs help. This is him saying that even he is suffering through all this right now. That's the way I look at it. We have people in high positions of power, like what's-her-face, Mahmood, I can't remember what her position was off the top of my head. I know I spoke about her at some point, but you know what it is. For every useful bit of information that goes in one ear, another bit of useful information goes out the other. So I've kind of forgotten what Mahmood is responsible for. But way I slice it, what Tommy Robinson is going through is not just fundamentally wrong, it's completely abhorrent. It is almost as far as saying it's almost a war crime in and of itself, quite frankly. The fact he is being violated like this. He's being treated as a prisoner of war for speaking out against terrorists. And Jamal, who was not innocent, he told the truth on the matter, Tommy did, when he showcased those secret recordings. But they wanted to sentence him to contempt of court. They put the word of a fucking compulsive liar. A compulsive liar. Over the people who were being abused by him. That's the way I look at it. We are in a situation where, as I said, this is all reaching boiling point. And I think if Tommy Robinson suffers inexorable damage, irreparable damage to his physique or mental health or whatever, I think there's going to be hell to pay for this. I think all hell will break loose. I want to believe he has a TV, but I can't tell that because obviously they won't let us see what's in the cells. If they do have a TV, great. If they don't, then yeah. But the thing is, it's not about whether or not somebody has a bloody TV. It is about a man who is having his human rights absolutely violated. But I guarantee you, if we flip the script here, if it was Keir the traitor Starmer, for example, who was serving time in Woodhill for contempt of court, he would be crying out that this is an injustice. He would be crying out for lawyers. Just like that. You know why? Because he hasn't got a pair of balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case, both. He does not have the stones to go through what Tommy has, and he never will. Keir the traitor Starmer has about as much backbone as a fucking newt, quite frankly. He is no good about him whatsoever, and if he truly wanted to make a change, first thing he would do as Prime Minister, being that he was a human rights lawyer in the past, I might add, is he would release all the people who are political prisoners, including Tommy Robinson. But we know he won't do that because then it would completely destroy what little chance he has of trying to run for 5 years. He'll be lucky if he manages to complete a full year, let alone the whole fucking 5-year term. Because the way I look at it, and probably the bit where Richard Inman and Paul Thorpe and all that will disagree, is the fact that I do believe fundamentally that if Keir the traitor Starmer does not resign by the 1st of March, I think there is going to be the ultimate worst case scenario. I think we will see people marching on the streets, and they won't be doing it with placards in their hands. It'll be more like pitchforks and torches, and they'll be wanting blood, quite frankly. People have had enough. Richard Inman talks about upping the ante. So maybe he's starting to understand a little bit more about the situation we're in, because we simply cannot continue to try and bang our head against a brick wall with a treacherous sectarianist dictator, or maybe I was right first time, who is going out of his way to completely erode our culture, our society, our beliefs, our systems. The way I look at it is we have to do something to stop it escalating to that. I would rather this be peaceful. I don't want a revolution. I don't want an uprising. I don't want blood on the streets, but that's what it's going to lead to. Because Keir the traitor Starmer is pushing and pushing and pushing. And he is a far-left socialist. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Who was a far-left socialist? Who invaded Poland? That's what we've got. 2.0. But of course, the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks. Because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. No, they'd rather keep chiming on all that and what have you. Let's keep it civil in here, chat. We're all on the same side. This is what the left want. Please keep it civil, because at the end of the day, if we're all infighting with one another, we're taking our eyes off the real enemy. And the real enemy right now is Keir the traitor Starmer, not each other. We have to focus. I want the 1st of February to be a peaceful march, because that is what Richard Inman, Paul Thorpe, Tommy Robinson want. They want this protest to be peaceful and dedicated to our hero. Stroke number 4. To our heroes. We don't want to tar that by descending into tribals, to primitive beings. We must go through the right channels, and we must do everything we can to try and get the peaceful results. Think of the worst case scenario, like the nukes, as it were. Think of it like you're the guy who's sitting in the missile silo, you've got your hand over the button. But you're not just going to be like, I'm going to press it impulsively. No, you consider it only as an absolute last resort, when all other options have been completely exhausted, when all other opportunities to achieve peace have failed. The same way that it ended up going against that far-left socialist dictator who went and invaded Poland. That's the way I look at it, folks. But I don't want to just talk about Tommy Robinson, because there is some other stuff I need to mention as well. TV licensing. No, I haven't received another letter, but I'm sure I'll receive one within the next 2 weeks or so. But the BBC, the TV licensing goons, they're now trying to widen their net, as it were. They are now looking at targeting streaming services like Disney and Netflix. I don't think I need to say that I am not a big fucking fan of the TV license. I don't think I need to say that the TV licensing goons can go straight to hell in a handbasket. But the way I see it, if they try to get a hold of these other streaming stroke number 5, other streaming platforms like Netflix and Disney. I am not doing very well today, am I? They are going to cause them to go bankrupt, because people will start cancelling their subscriptions to Netflix and Disney just like that. There is no way people are going to want to pay the racketeering group that is the BBC and the TV licensing goons for the privilege of watching their favourite shows on Netflix. They have no right. I've occasionally had fish and chips, don't you worry. But obviously right now, we need to focus on what's going on, keep ourselves wired up, make sure we know everything. Also knowing that I've had 5 strokes during the first 20 fucking minutes of this, which is not looking good. Because that's how I got the world record of 10 strokes in a 40-minute video. Hitchcock, I appreciate that. Anyway, the way I slice it, this 1st of February march, We're going to expose all of that shit. We are going to put them on notice. The BBC, Sly News, all the mainstream media. And we're going to put Sadiq terrorist sympathizer Khan on watch as well. He is on notice. We want our country back. We do not want our country to become a third world shithole. We do not want our country to be run by Islamic extremists who are more interested in assimilating us into their death cult or murdering us if we do not wish to, than actually being tolerant towards us. 3,200 political prisoners, as you say, and Tommy and Peter Lynch, God rest his soul. We have so many prisoners that are counting on us to make the 1st of February something special. They're counting on us to take the fight to the establishment, especially Peter Lynch. Let's give them a protest that will make Peter Lynch sing songs of praise from the grave. Let's give them something, the establishment, something to really be afraid of. In fact, this is something that I was putting in my original video that I was going to put up. Do you know what Tommy Robinson would be perfect as? Do you know what figure Tommy Robinson would be perfect as? John Wick. I shit you not. Okay, he may not have the tendencies that John Wick does. He certainly doesn't have a whole bunch of gold coins to pay the high table and what have you. I thought that was for the babies. Anyway, he may not have the coins to pay the high table and what have you, and to solicit services from underground. But Tommy Robinson definitely knows how to make it count. He knows how to hit the establishment where it hurts. He knows how scary he is to the establishment. Because the establishment and the mainstream media, and even Nigel the phony Farage, treat him like the boogeyman. I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil. With a fucking pencil. I can already see it, I really can. But of course, Tommy doesn't fight with fists, guns, and weapons and knives and all that shit. His weapons is the gift of the gab. He's able to give jaw far better than any of those treacherous politicians in the houses of treachery. Sorry, Parliament. Or again, maybe I was right first time. He knows how to hit the establishment where it hurts. He knows what he's doing is righteous and just. He is doing everything he can to help this country. And there will be people who come out, of course, and say, oh, but he's a Zionist and all that shit. Here's the thing. I don't give a shit if Tommy Robinson is a Zionist or not. As long as the Zionism is not threatening our country, I don't care what he is. He could be the practicing cult of, I don't know, he worships fucking circles of teddy bears for all I care, quite frankly. And I wouldn't care, as long as it's not threatening us. That's the way I slice it. And Tommy is definitely a man of conviction, a man of principles, a good leader. He is a person who, if he was in 10 Downing Street, he would have had half the shit at least cleaned up. Just like that. But because we have Keir the traitor Starmer in power, we've got someone who is about as much use to us as a straw teepee is of protecting us from fire. This man is only going to serve to throw a Molotov cocktail on said straw teepee and make sure it goes up even faster. The bottom line, as far as the stroke number 6, as far as the protest is concerned, is we have the power to put the fear of God in the hearts of the establishment. And I'm sure as shit no religious person Do I believe there's a man or woman upstairs? Oh, 100%. I'm not a full-fledged Christian, but I understand this is a Judeo-Christian country, and I understand that they basically are the rulers of this kingdom. Unfortunately, we have Islam that is seeking to dethrone Christianity and take this country for themselves and turn it into Englandistan, that are trying to turn our country, if they haven't already, into a third world shithole. They are barbarians from the 5th century, and they need to go back to their 5th century countries with their 5th century cultures and their 5th century beliefs where they rightfully fucking belong. And as for the BBC, this is a classic case of, if you fuck around, you're going to find out. And oh boy, will they find out if they decide to buy the rights or try to sell their TV licensing and force people to pay through it on Netflix and Disney and all that shit. There is no shot that that'll end well. People will do mass cancellations. People will know, don't use that company, the BBC owns it. Do not pay for that system, the BBC will tax you or try to prosecute you in court. That's the way I look at it. At the end of the day, we must do everything we can to take these guys in the establishment down the right way. But we must be prepared for the worst case scenario. I appreciate all of you being here, by the way. We must be prepared for the worst case scenario. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Because I can tell you right now, I think we're very close to a civil war. I think we're very, very close to seeing some very, very ugly scenes in Britain. To seeing perhaps one of our darkest days in Britain. And I'm not going to sit idly by while our establishment continues to fuck us over. As far as my personal getting to, Waterloo Station, I have looked into it a little bit more, and basically I have found out that you can actually get there via London Liverpool Street as well, through the underground lines and what have you. So I think I have got my route planned out. So pretty much, as long as I don't end up having an actual stroke or being on my deathbed, or my nan or my family members are on their deathbeds or whatever, as long as that's the case, I'm fine, basically. So, yeah, I think that's about it, really. But I don't think they quite understand how much trouble they're in. And I can guarantee you this much. Keir the traitor Starmer will not reach 5 years. Maybe in prison, but not in Parliament. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, as always, doing this. And, yeah, I wish you all a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you one last time for watching. And I will see you all in the next one, where hopefully Starmer will finally get the message and stop giving the British people unnecessary shit.